Hi, everyone. This is Julie with Elsevier. I just wanted to take some time and make a quick video for you so that we can get reintroduced into Simchart and we can get you enrolled into your Simchart course. So the first thing that I'm going to do is going to Evolve, and you will use Evolve by going to either Chrome or Firefox. Those are the best browser. It does not do well in Internet Explorer. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and log in to your account. So the website is evolve.elsevier.com, and I am already logged in. So we're going to enroll into your instructor's new course ID for Simchart. You've already purchased the bundle or you have access to Simchart. So to redeem any access codes or enter into any course IDs, you're just going to go to Catalog. If you remember, these are the three main tabs on your Evolve page. My Evolve is where all your courses will be listed. Catalog is where you're going to redeem your course IDs. And Help is where you'll access the Student Life page or our support team if you're having any technical issues. So the first thing we're going to do is enter the new course ID so that you're enrolled into your course. So we're going to click on Catalog. And if you scroll down the page on the left-hand side, there's a box that says redeem an access code or enter a course ID, and that's where we're going to put your instructor's new course ID in. So this will be your new course ID. You're also going to receive a Word document with this course ID in so that you can go ahead and enter this in at a different time. The next thing we would do is just hit submit. And then this box will populate saying that you're enrolled into your course. You're just going to go ahead and hit continue. And then you would go back to My Evolve. And you'll see your course. It's populated there for you right there on the top here. So this is your new course that you're going to work in this semester. So just a refresher, Simchart is the electronic medical record. So this is something that's going to give you exposure to charting in an EHR so that you're comfortable for when you enter practice. So I'm going to actually enter my own course. So this will look different than yours. So if you recall, this is the home page of the course. You'll see your announcements here. So for example, this is my announcement for the week. This is how your instructor can communicate what is due. If you look down the left-hand side, your grades will be here, and then you also, this is your course home. So if you remember from our meeting last time, you have three main folders inside of your Simchart course: case studies, my clinicals, and simulations. The two that we're going to really focus on are my clinicals and case studies. So we'll pop into each so that and give you a quick refresher. So if you remember, my clinicals is where you're going to access your clinical assignments. So your instructor will enter an assignment for you to do. So after you've gone to clinical, this is where you're going to input your patient data in My Clinicals. So this is a blank electronic medical record. There's no patient data in it, and that's because you're going to enter your patient's information that you work with at clinicals. So when you click on the week, and it may be titled different. Your instructor might title it something different, Clinicals Week 1, but you would then, after you click on the week or the folder, you're just going to click here to access the simulation. It'll populate in a new window, and then your instructions window will pop up. So for example, you can print this page. This is a great way to make sure that you have everything that you need right there with you. So you have your assignment objectives, and the objective here is to chart the patient's vital signs, patient's assessment, I&O, and then, so now you know that, so we can actually go and start the assignment. So if you recall, this is going to be the first page, and we're going to need to put the date. So say we saw the patient today, and then just one letter for each patient, or for the first and last name. This is so that we stay HIPAA compliant. So say we're working on a med surg floor, say that it is a male. And then you'll pick an avatar for the patient, and then the provider, and then your first initial, and then your last name, and then your credentials. So student nurse. And then we would hit save. You want to always make sure that you're hitting save so that it's saving your work throughout. So we had to go in and print the vital sign, or enter the vital signs for the patient. So that's on the left-hand side. This is your navigator. So if you're working in Epic, it's similar. It's going to be that patient navigator along the side. So we're going to enter in the patient's temperature. And then where did we get it? So what site were we getting that the temperature from? The patient's pulse. So we're going to put a big number in here because I want you to see what the system will do when you put something outside of the normal limits. And then just remember as you're working through to enter where you're gathering the data from. And the patient's position at that point. And then you put in your SAT. And then if the patient's on any oxygen, this is where you would enter that also. So I put this in, I'm reviewing it. Now I do know that those respers are not the correct value, so it's going to tell you. So it's giving you an alert. As if you were to chart this in Epic, when you go ahead and erase it, it's going to put that a red sign saying that, you know, information was deleted and re-entered. But this is just reminding you, okay, that's not inside of the normal limit, so you can go back and make a change to that. And then you will just hit save. So the neat thing about this is they're going to, your trend will populate here. So as you're caring for your patient throughout the day, you can enter in their vital sounds throughout the day, and then you can see your baseline and how their data is trending. So it's a great reference for you. The next thing you were told to do was to enter your patient's charting. So we needed to put in an assessment. So if you go along the side, this is where you're going to find the patient's system. So it would be a system assessment. So you're actually going in and charting the respiratory system. And this is done too. So if you're doing, you know, a focused assessment, maybe you're just assessing the cardiac system, you can find that easily right here. So we're just going to pop into the respiration or the respiratory system. And then you're going to work through. So how was the patient's breathing pattern? You know, were they short of breath? Were they using any accessory muscles? Maybe they were short of breath at that time. Or maybe they, you know, were doing okay. You don't need to chart that, obviously. And then you're just going to work through the anatomical positions. So you would, how did they sound here? Were they clear? And you would just work through by clicking on each position. So you're getting opportunity to remember the anatomical positions. And then do they have any adventitious breath sounds? That's where you would chart that here. Did you hear any wheezing? And that, again, you would go in if they were using any oxygen at that time. You would say how much, how many liters they were on. If not, then you can just simply chart room air. One thing I do want to point out is that you always want to save your work, like I said, this way. And as you can see too, I want to mention as you're working through that system, all the other systems will populate here so you can access them instead of going out to the left-hand navigator. So we'll hit save. Okay, so my information's saved. Say I've gone in, I've done all the things that I needed, I've double-checked my work. Again, I wanted to point this out. If you didn't print it out, you can still access the information here and hit continue to get that. You see the submit button. This is important that you want to make sure that everything is correct and accurate and you've done everything you need to do in the assignment and then hit submit because you aren't able to go back after you've hit the submit button. So say I'm done, everything looks good. This also too, anything, that's why I kept saying you want to make sure that you're saving your work because if you didn't save something you submitted, that information will not be saved. So I've done all that. I would just hit submit here. So my assignment's been submitted. And then that will be sent over for your instructor to grade. And it does tell you that. So we will just go back here. The next spot I want to take you to is the case studies. So if you got an opportunity to work a little bit in the case studies, you know that these are unfolding and they're in phases. So meaning that you're going to get information about your patient and then you're going to have to go into the patient's chart and chart that information about the patient. So we will take a peek at one of these so that you are able to see. So you always want to click here and this will open up into another window. So the very first thing that pops up is basically a quick summary about the patient and it's going to tell you the state and also the time so that you're charting in the correct time. So I've read that. I'm going to go to start unfolding case study. So now this is your first phase. So you would go in to take a peek at this. It's going to tell you the patient's vital signs, and then it says the student action. So you want to document the findings of the focused assessment. And then also it's telling you which vital signs were abnormal. So if you take a peek and look down through the vital signs, you can see by looking some of those abnormal vital signs. So that's an opportunity for you to do some critical thinking and get a better understanding of what's going on with the patient. So say you read this information, we just want to go in and then you just hit continue to phase one. So you've gone in, so now you have to go into the chart, and if you remember going to that focused assessment, so we have the vital signs, it told you the patient data. So we're actually going to pop into those system assessments and we'll go into the respiratory assessment and then chart those findings that we found. At any time, if you are forgetting that information that was, that you read here, you can actually print the information so you're not clicking back and forth, but you could access it just by clicking the case study information. So say I've done that, I've charted all of that inside of the respiratory system, and I am ready to move on to phase two. I've saved my work, and then I would just hit complete this phase, and it would say okay. So then it's going to ask you some questions about that, so you can think about which you had just charted on and have some critical thinking questions. And then you would just walk through these questions, and then it's going to take you over into phase two. So these are great ways, it's a great opportunity to critically think about situations, real situations that you would see at the bedside, and have an opportunity to really take that time in just as you would as a nurse by assessing the patient and then entering that documentation into the medical, the health, or into the EHR. So those are the two major folders that you'll be doing most of your work out of this semester. I just wanted to give you a quick refresher on those. One more thing that I will point out are your student resources. They are great information inside of your student resources. If you guys haven't already, I really encourage you to take a peek. Everything that I said today, and even in more detail, is going to be located here right in the student resources. One thing that I will point out will be the getting started. This student orientation video If you guys already didn't look at this, maybe just watch it again as a quick refresher. It's just going to tell you a little bit more about Simchart and really getting acclimated with it. And as you know, working in these tools and kind of clicking around is really how you're going to get familiar with them. One thing too I will point out is if you go to, as you can see, we have practice areas, practice environments. So this is a place for you to go in and click around, really get acclimated. For example, My Clinicals. This is a great area. It's basically, it's just like the My Clinicals environment that you are receiving assignments in, except it's practice. So these will not be reported to your instructor. This is just a great way for you to get familiar. Maybe you want to go through this before you do have to do a clinical assignment so that you're getting a feel. So I encourage you to go ahead, play around in these folders. Don't be afraid. It really is a great way for you to get acclimated and get more experience with the EHR. So once you will receive grades, and those will populate here for you. And then once you've completed them, they will be here. You can see your points and then the class or the average that you should be receiving. So your instructor will have an opportunity to go in and then you'll receive a PDF file that you can pull up, and you could keep that for your documentation too. So your instructor can actually go in and look at your assignments and, you know, write feedback in there so that you can see how you're navigating through the EHR. So that is a quick refresher on Simchart. And again, you'll also be receiving a document that's going to have your new course ID that you'll access for spring of 2020, and it'll be labeled spring of 2020. And one last thing before I leave you is I want to talk about the help button. And I know we discussed this briefly too, but help button is where you're going to access our support team. If you are having technical issues, please go to our support team first. You can actually just hop on a quick chat. It's a great way just to get your problem addressed if you don't want to give them a call, but they are very helpful. And they are there for you. So I encourage you, please go to our support team for any technical issues. Before going, please do not go to your instructor, because our team is able to go ahead and take a deeper look into that for you. But also I wanted to point out the student life page. This is a great resource for students. As you can see, all of our products are listed here. So you have access to the simulation products, so Simchart. This is actually the Simchart orientation video too. So, and also we have FAQs here. So this is just a great tool, and you have the peer support. So you can collaborate with other students that are in nursing school to get, just to collaborate and see how they're using the tools, or maybe some tips. So with that, I will leave you, and I wish you all a great semester. And thank you so much for your time.